Thank you for staying. We'll take you now to the Ministry of Information, where government is given an update on military operation against mining in water bodies.
The policy is not to be commenting on ongoing operations, but they are at a point now that we are able to provide some information this morning, and that's why we've invited you to join us for this brief. I want to start by introducing some of the dignitaries who are here with us this morning, and then I'll yield the podiums to two of them who do the substantive brief. With us this morning is the Honorable Kofi Amankwa Menu, Deputy Minister Designate for Defense, Member of Parliament for Etwima Kwauma. Also with us this morning is the Honorable Benito Owusu-Bio, Member of Parliament for Atwima Nwabieja, and Deputy Minister Designate for Lands and Natural Resources. With us this morning is the Minister responsible for the Interior, the Honorable Ambrose Derry, Member of Parliament for Nandom, the Minister responsible for Lands and Natural Resources, the Honorable Samuel Abdullahi Jenapo, Member of Parliament for Damango, and the Honorable Dominic Nitiwu, Member of Parliament for Bimbila, and Minister responsible for Defense. The Ministers for Defense and Lands will join me or will take over the podiums, and the Minister for Defense will first give us a brief on the military operation proper and where they are, the scope, and the update of what has been achieved so far. He would also spend some time talking about the next steps after this operation by the military, if any. The Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, who would also take over this podium, will also now speak about the bigger conversation of mining within our water bodies. You will recall that a few weeks ago, himself, the Minister for Water Resources and Sanitation, and myself, on the instructions of the President, commenced a national tour, and he made or issued some directives. And some of the exercises you are seeing currently form part of those operations. So shortly, I would invite them to the podium. I want to acknowledge as well the presence of Vice Admiral Seth Amwama, Chief of Defense Staff of the Republic of Ghana, Brigadier General A.Y. Nsia, Acting Chief of Defense Intelligence, Brigadier General Abdullahi, Director General Joint Operations, Lieutenant Colonel Nana Dakwa, Deputy Director Army Operations, and Wing Commander David Nkansa, Director of Air Operations. So, Honorable Minister for Defense, please join me on the right podium. Honorable Minister for Lands, please take this podium. Defense Minister, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Kojo. Thank you very much. I hope I'm audible enough. I'm okay? It's okay? Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I think I'm back here again after almost 1.5 years. Let's say 1 year. And it's always good to have an opportunity to address you, obviously addressing you through to the nation. I stand on the existing protocol by the Minister for the Information, Honorable Kojo Nkrumah, and say the friends of the media. For me, I'm glad again to be back on the orders of the President to brief the nation on the military operation currently taking place, especially in the western region on the River Pra, which the Ghana Armed Forces is currently undertaking. If you remember, or if you recall, at the opening ceremony of the National Dialogue on Small-Scale Mining on Monday, the 14th of February, at the Accra International Press Center, or Accra International Conference Center, the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces reaffirmed his commitment to clamping down on illegal mining because it's essentially destroying our future. What actions we take today will determine what future we have tomorrow. And so the president is very much aware. He had already put his political future online to fight this calamity, and he reaffirmed it, even though we face serious problems during the electioneering campaign because of the commitment of the president to clean up what has been going on. And he said, and I quote, "We must all demonstrate that we love our land and are capable of taking care of it ourselves. The Chinese will not come and take care of Ghana. The Nigerians will not come and take care of Ghana. The Ivorians will not take care of us. It is Ghanaians who have to take care of Ghana. What is happening in Ghana is not happening in Ivory Coast, our nearest neighbor. And so it is the Ghanaians who have to take care of ourselves. If we don't have water to drink, we will not get water anywhere. And so we must protect our water bodies." Ladies and gentlemen, if you remember, in August 2017, the president launched Operation Calm Life. And so a joint team of police and military moved in to stop illegal mining across the entire country, in all forms. Vanguard, across the entire country. But in March 2020, after the military operations had achieved its desired objectives, it was withdrawn, leaving the police to continue with Operation Vanguard. But as the minister, my good friend, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, has observed on his thoughts, illegal mining is on the ascendancy again, particularly in areas that they should not happen, river bodies and water and forest reserves, which he will give a policy direction, and I don't want to take the wind out of his sail. He will give that policy direction, so I will leave that. And so His Excellency the President, after the communique that came out of the National Consultative Assembly, ordered the Ghana Armed Forces to carry out a surgical operation to flush out illegal miners, including foreigners from the country, on our river bodies and forest reserves. This operation was launched on Wednesday, the 28th of April, to remove all illegal miners and equipment from all our river bodies, especially the major ones, starting with River Pra. The operation is codenamed Operation Halt. Operation Halt is not a new operation. It was launched first in 2009 to do exactly what we are doing: flush out illegal miners. We have just continued that operation in line with the President's orders. This operation is being conducted by personnel drawn from the Ghana Army, the Ghana Navy, and the Ghana Air Force. A total of 200 all ranks, with the support from the Ghana Police Service, Ghana Immigration Service, and Forestry Commission, and allied security agencies are taking part. For the armed forces, the breakdown is as follows. Army, 154 all ranks. That is officers and men, 154. For the Navy, 40 all ranks. That is the Navy officers and men. And for the Air Force, 6 all ranks. And so we have 200 strong men drawn from the Ghana Armed Forces, led by their respective CEOs. So 64 is leading the eastern flank of River Pra, and 2BN, located in Takoradi or sited in Takoradi, is leading the western flank of River Pra, and the Navy is using their boats within the river east-south. And they are sweeping from the beginning of the river towards Chofi Praso. It's a 3-day operation which will end today. In view of the nature of the terrain and the tasks involved, the troops deployed a number of logistics or equipment to carry out the troops or the tasks. This includes TCVs, troop-carrying vehicles, assault boats, helicopters, and drones. We want to be very open to the public. So you will see helicopters in action, you will see drones in action, you will see troop-carrying vehicles in action, you see fully armed men in action. The operation commenced at 06 hours on Wednesday, the 28th of April 2021, with simultaneous activities on the western and eastern banks of River Pra by the infantry elements, while the Navy and engineer troops conducted riverine operations on the river. The Ghana Air Force provided air cover and took aerial photographs of the operations. And by 18 hours, which is 6 p.m., when operations were halted for the day, 2 Chinese nationals were arrested at Atieku near Chufuprasu in the central region. The Chinese, Wei Gang Ying and Wei Gang Ming, have all been handed over to the national security for further interrogation. They will be prosecuted. Ladies and gentlemen, it is noted that since the commencement of the operation from Wednesday the 28th to Thursday 29th, the troops have destroyed a number of equipment, including 9 excavators, 127 chamfine machines platforms associated with mining equipment, 1 fuel pump. Furthermore, the following items have been seized and will be destroyed, except items that will be used as exhibit in courts. 8 by 24 plate batteries, 1 pump action gun case, a generator, Huawei phone, chainsaw machine, 8 raincoats, fuel filters, non-citizen Ghana card, ID card, 2 drilling equipment, and 2 boots. This will be destroyed except equipment that the police deem necessary for their work for prosecution. Otherwise, everything on site will be destroyed. What are the future plans? Ladies and gentlemen, this operation will be conducted on all major river and forest reserves in all Galamsey endemic regions. Let me repeat. It will be conducted in all river bodies, the major river bodies and forest reserves in all Galamsey endemic regions throughout the country to rid them of illegal mining activities. And take note of what I'm just going to say. There will be aerial patrols where Gov't has already swept past. Armed men will be authorized to take action, immediate action, on anyone who returns to these river bodies as the patrol goes by air. So once the armed forces sweep past, we expect that nobody should return to the place. But helicopters will carry armed men to patrol the place every 3 days. And anybody found operating, again, on the areas that have been cleared, the security will be tasked to take immediate action. Whatever they say or whatever they do, we cannot communicate to you, but they will take action. So it is not in your interest to return to site. And we want this message carried out to the people of Ghana. Don't return to site. Once it is cleared, we expect the river bodies to return to normal. The task of the armed forces and the Ministry of Lands and Forestry is to ensure that River Pra is cleaned up. And we'll do everything and anything to make sure it is cleaned up for the people of Ghana to see that result. And we'll continue like that in all river bodies. Ladies and gentlemen, it is instructive to note that the level of degradation is unimaginable. Aquatic life lost completely. It's been observed that heavy equipment is being used for illegal mining activities on River Pra. Some of them have been withdrawn, hoping that will not come back and they'll bring it back. But I'm sorry, it will always be there. But it's not a stationary force like Vanguard. Additionally, some of the illegal mining sites have been a little bit inaccessible, but the armed forces will get there. Gov't was tasked to conduct operations at Nyong Forest as well, and 2 Chinese were also arrested. But the recommendations that we want to give you is, one, that together as stakeholders, especially the media, you should partner the security agencies, particularly the Ministry of Lands, and assist us to ensure that we succeed in what we are doing. We will get to the traditional authorities for their assistance as well. Whilst we ask all foreign partners to ensure that if their nationals are caught and prosecuted, it is for the sake of our laws and our country and our people. There is a fake video circulating around claiming that it is part of the operations. Ignore such fake things. As a country, the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources organized a bipartisan, all-inclusive national consultative dialogue. We came out with a communique as a nation, and we are following through it. We don't want the politicization of the actions again. We've done enough politics, galamsey politics. Videos are bound where people are doing galamsey politics. We don't want that any longer. Let us all love this country and let us succeed. So I would call my colleague, the minister, to continue from here, whilst the technical questions about the actual operation, the military will be here to answer any technical question that you want, but he will give the policy direction as he leads this fight to ensure that we get to where we want to get to. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Minister for Defense, Minister for Interior, Minister for Information, officers of the Military High Command, our friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen. Let me first of all thank the Minister for Information for putting this press encounter together. It's very useful, and I think that it will help. And also very quickly thank the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, the Minister for Defense, the Minister for Interior, the Minister for National Security, and the Military High Command for the work they've actually started. I mean, I think that the work they've begun is going to help us at the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources a great deal. We are highly happy about the work they are doing. Now, I just want to bring some clarity on where we are, the issues on the table, and the framework we have put in place. We are all very familiar with the issues of illegal small-scale mining in our country. I will not go through all of that. But the President took the view that it's about time that we have a broad-based, bipartisan, national conversation about illegal small-scale mining. I think the President is very right, because anybody who is familiar with the extractive industry across the world is an industry which is almost like the cocaine industry, because in that industry you are talking about huge sums of money. So if you don't have a national consensus around it, it becomes difficult. You pull in the right direction, another part of the nation is pulling the other way, you will not make a headway. Thankfully, under the leadership of the President, we are fortunate to have organized some largely successful national consultation on illegal small-scale mining. And I believe Ghanaians were happy to see leading members of literally all the political parties in our country in attendance. I just returned from a tour in the Western region where I was accompanied by the ranking members of the National Democratic Congress in Parliament, the Honorable Rashid Pelpo and Suwini and co, and it went very well. So we've done that. The second thing we did was to examine the terrain. And the ministry came to the conclusion that there are two critical areas of the fight or of our national life which require special attention, which are our water bodies and forest reserves. Let's face it, when Ghanaians are up in arms and outraged about illegal small-scale mining, fundamentally, they are talking about the water bodies of our country, the state of our water bodies. They are talking about our forest reserves. The illegal small-scale mining which takes place everywhere else is important, and we are going to deal with that. And in fact, we are dealing with that. But the water bodies and forest reserves, we came to the well-reasoned conclusion that those are high priorities. And so measures were put in place. The first measure we took was to direct the Forestry Commission to cease the issuance of forest entry permits for purposes of mining. For those who are familiar with the processes leading to actual legal mining in forest reserves, having secured all your permits from the Minerals Commission, the EPA, and so on and so forth, you require a forest entry permit in order to mine in a forest reserve. If you are going to mine at a place which is not a forest reserve, you don't require a forest entry permit. But if it's a place which is designated as forest reserve, you have to go to the Forestry Commission for a permit in order to be able to mine. So we'll put a freeze on that, which means there cannot be further mining in forest reserves. I have to clarify that. For the enterprises or operations or companies who have already acquired mining licenses or mining leases and gotten forest entry permits and are mining and following the protocols, the environmental protocols, they have what we call accrued rights. So this instruction will not take a retroactive effect. So it will not affect them. And there are a good number of responsible large-scale, small-scale mining schemes going on in forest reserves with the right permit. But in the future, no more forest entry permits. 2, we also observed that people come up to apply for prospecting, recognizance, and/or exploration licenses. And again, those who are familiar with the mining industry, those kinds of licenses are for you to go and check whether or not the concession is mineralized, whether or not you can find minerals in the concession. If you find minerals, you then will come back to the Minerals Commission to go through the processes all the way to get a mineral operating permit and a forest entry permit before you can mine. But we observe that people come, they get the license for prospecting, and then they move straight away to mine. And when they are confronted, they pull a piece of paper which says, I have a license, which is a prospecting license, or a recognizance license. In some cases, they've just put in the application. The Minerals Commission is evaluating the application, then they proceed to mine. So we've suspended all prospecting, recognizance, and/or exploration in forest reserves in our country. Whether you have license or you do not have license, or your application for a license is pending, no more prospecting in forest reserves, no more recognizance in forest reserves, no more exploration. So that has also been done. The water bodies, the Water Resources Commission Act, the Minerals and Mining Act 208, Act 703, the guidelines which emanated from that and all of that, prescribes clearly that mining cannot take place 100 meters away from the bounds of a river body. So that is clear. So it's a lot. And we had a bit of a discussion in the ministry as to whether or not the communique we issued should state that people cannot mine in our river bodies. But it was unnecessary because it's already outlawed. And so where we are, forest reserves and water bodies, the president has declared those red zones. So for government and for the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, forest reserves, water bodies, red zones. And that is why the Ghana Armed Forces are moving in the manner that they are. So I just want to say that there is a lot of clarity now. And the instructions which were given, we gave 7 days ultimatum for all persons engaged in these activities to suspend their activities and evacuate their equipment. So let me repeat that. We don't say suspend the activities alone. You see, having suspended the activities, if you have equipment in forest reserves for which you were deploying for the purposes of prospecting, exploration, or recognizance, evacuate them. So the deadline is today. At the level of the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, we have put together a monitoring and evaluation team headed by the Honorable Benito, MP from Wabieja, who is the Deputy Minister in my ministry. And that monitoring team is going to come out with a statement this afternoon. We're establishing a situation room. We are putting out telephone lines. Ghanaians can call to report that I live in Apamprama. There's a forest reserve. People are still engaged in prospecting there or people are mining a forest reserve, the monitoring team will then alert the national security architecture or apparatus so they can move in. In addition to that, and in accordance with the highest standards of transparency, I have here in my hand a list of prospecting recognizance licenses within forest reserves, those granted and those pending. And we have 105 of them. You have them, the particulars are name of company, name of forest reserve, location of forest reserve, municipal district, location of forest reserve region, date of forest permit, date of expiry, and all of that. I have instructed both the Minerals and Forestry Commission by close of working day, 7th May, Friday, to publish this list. So we all have it. Ghanaians will have it, publish it, put it out in the public domain. So everybody knows the companies who are holding prospecting or recognizance licenses and those whose applications are pending. So there is abundance of transparency in what we are trying to do. I'd like to conclude on this note. And the note is that let all of us appreciate that this is a complex industry. I haven't been Minister for Lands and Natural Resources for too long, but I've been around long enough to come to the firm conclusion that this is a complex industry. I said it at the National Consultative Forum. I want to repeat it. The President's resolve alone will not be enough. My resolve alone will not be enough. The ministers, security minister, their resolve alone will not be enough. It will require a national effort. And again, anybody who has a little understanding of illegal small-scale mining, with all these measures we are putting in place, if in a community, the chief, the local government authority, DC, assembly people, unit committee people, the head of the security people there, this tripod, if these three people are not cooperating, all we are doing here will come to naught. So I want to conclude by calling on Ghanaians, by calling on all and sundry chiefs, opinion leaders, political parties, media, and media as well, the way we put the issues out, the way we expose people, the way we stick to the principles. The enforcement begins, and when we are getting a bit hard, before long, some video, and these people, the soldiers have done that, the police have, that will not help. We have to be resolute on this matter. And I want to reassure the good people of this country on behalf of the President and his government that the commitment of government in this matter, particularly as they relate to water bodies and forest reserves, what we describe as the red zones, is absolutely unflinching and unequivocal. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable Ministers, please.
Okay.
Honorable Ministers, grateful for the brief that you have just given us. As the Minister for Defense mentioned, if there are questions that are specific to the operation, we'll take them, and then we will have the relevant security officers join us up on the podium and respond to them. And if there are questions related to the substantive matter, we will also have the Minister and his technical officers respond to them. My understanding is that we're live on Ghana Television, we're live on the Ghana News Agency's Facebook platform, live on JoyNews and a number of other television and online platforms, as well as the Ministry of Information's Facebook platform. So, can we get the microphone? So just raise your hand. It will be brought where you are, and then you can ask your question. Yes, GNA. Please make your question simple and straight to the point.
Thank you. My name is Atamen Sagodo from Ghana News Agency. I have a number of questions. I wonder how many you allow me to ask.
I'll take three, sir. Okay. I'll take three. Okay. Let's go.
So the first question is, I've heard in the grapevine that 200 people were arrested just within these 3 days of this special operation. I want the team or the Minister of Defense to confirm, because he mentioned two
So the question is, how many people were arrested?
Yes.
There are rumors that 200.
Yes. So
can he confirm or give a number? Let's go to the next question.
Yes. My next question is, I've seen pictures of some machines being destroyed.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised because in the past, government said especially excavators would be used for the reclamation exercise. And so if the excavators are useful for reclamation, how come they are being destroyed at this time? I want you to explain it for me.
Yes.
Then my third question is, I want to find out how we are going to resource the various district and regional security councils, because the Minister of Lands told us that they will spearhead this exercise. And so if now government is bringing in the military to do this special operation, how is they going to resource the district and then the regional security councils to
keep the sanity that is being brought? Thank you. Yes, sir. GH1, let's take the microphone there.
Thank you very much. My name is Joshua Nana Kwame Ayra. I have 3 questions to ask if I'm allowed.
Nana, please speak up a bit so that we can hear.
So my first question would be the fact that I have worked in, done quite a number of stories from, for instance, Modaso, a community next to Denshaw Boase, and we've seen miners on the mines mining, and solely the concerns are that they don't have any alternative source of livelihood because there appears to be a sentimental attachment to some of these lands that they are operating. And so if we are going to rid them off, which we are seeing the attitudinal challenges, they are not ready to leave. The defense minister has made it clear that anyone that returns to these lands, the state or the government will not take responsibility for whatever that happens. What is government's plan to sustain these lives?
So are there alternative livelihood
Exactly.
plans? Yes, next
My
question,
second
sir.
question will be that we've seen a lot put in place to ensure that we overcome this canker. We've employed technology, we have used the military, we have used the Joint Security Task Force, and now there's an intensified operation again, 3 days, and we are seeing it end today. Major question is, what happened initially that we did not win this fight? And if we can be very honest, what happened that we did not see that? And what is going to change this time around with this particular approach?
So what will be different with this approach? That's a substantive question. Okay. Any difference with this approach? Yes, sir. Zako Judgment.
Good morning. I'm Kujajman from City TV. My first question is that I got wind from the small-scale miners that from the red zones declared by the minister, they evacuated 200 excavators. We want clarification for that. And then we have the Minerals Commission, Water Resources, Forestry Commission under the land.
Just some clarity. These are supposed to be 200 excavators involved in prospecting.
Yes.
In the forest reserve.
In the forest reserves. Yeah.
Where exactly is this?
They didn't mention. Okay, Upper Wasa, Konongo, Krobo, and then Juabo areas.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Within the 3-day operation.
Okay.
My second question is that we have the Minerals Commission, Forestry Commission, Water Resources, so many agencies under the Lands Ministry. Why is the minister setting up a monitoring and evaluation desk? Is it not going to be a multiplicity of work? Thank you.
Is the monitoring desk an additional layer, right? Or is it necessarily just a collaboration of the existent agencies?
Well, I believe the Forestry Commission, Minerals Commission can do these evaluations.
Yes, I understand. I'm clarifying your question that, is it an additional layer you are adding, or you are just asking that they come together and monitor? So I'll let him answer that. Go ahead. Are you done, Kojo? Okay, just some clarity. These 200 excavators, just so I understand your question properly, you're saying that you are hearing rumors that the small-scale miners
they were
evacuated, if I may, just so that I understand you. The small-scale miners themselves evacuated 200 excavators.
No, it's not the small-scale miners.
Take your time. Let me put it and then you can come back. Is it that the small-scale miners themselves evacuated 200 excavators when they were given the grace period, which ends on Friday, for prospecting, correct? Or is it that as part of this operation, there are rumors that 200 excavators were
evacuated from Juabo?
When you say evacuated, you mean seized by the military?
This current operation ongoing.
Okay. Yeah. In the water bodies?
Along the water body, Juabo, Upper Wasa, Konongo, and then Krobo, and then Apaprama Forest.
We're talking about the Pra River.
Well,
But I'll let them respond.
Sure.
But this clarity is important so that somebody doesn't go around saying that excavators were taken from forest reserves. Meanwhile, what we are talking about is an operation on the Pra River. So this clarification is important.
Yeah,
so
and
I'll let them
then
clarify.
B to that. The minister also mentioned that he's going to give us a full update of the so-called missing excavators, the one parked around the Rollins.
But that's not a subject of today's briefing. Today we are discussing the military operation that has taken place and the fallouts. So Kojo, thank you. I'll take a final one for this round. There's a hand at the back there. Let me take that one before I come this way. No, I'll take this one. Say, I'll come to you. I'll take this one, and then I'll come to you. Is that Mr. Blay?
Yes, Joseph Akable, JoyNews.
Go ahead.
It's related to the first question, but a bit more direct. I mean, I just wanted to find out, because the figures he gave, he just said only 2 Chinese nationals have been arrested.
Yeah.
If you match it against the number of equipment that were seized,
Yeah.
is it the case that these individuals who were operating the equipment got wind of the fact that the team, they were coming in, that's how come they abandoned the equipment? Or
So
if they had
were they
arrested,
abandoned equipment?
Exactly.
Okay.
And secondly, about the decision to destroy them, are we not putting ourselves in a situation where there could be judgment debt issues?
When you are
Perhaps?
mining in a water body which is illegal,
I'm just asking.
you are going to sue that your machine that you are using for illegal mining in the water body has been destroyed, and therefore the state should pay compensation for
I'm
it.
asking that because, I mean, in everyday
I just want to
sense-
understand.
Yes, that's the question I'm asking.
Okay.
I'm asking because in everyday sense, when you find someone engaged in an activity that is criminal, whatever it is, you don't just destroy whatever the person
Very
is
well.
found with.
Very
Thank
well.
you.
I just wanted clarity, Mr. Blade, don't worry. And then I'll take this final one, and then I'll get answers.
Yeah, good morning, Honorable Minister.
Yeah.
My first question has to do with, there's a perception that this whole business of illegal mining is being supported by certain political actors and some big wigs or big fishes in the system. Such it makes it very difficult, like he rightly said. It is a hydra-headed because it's a cartel. And so it is very difficult to, so if they get somebody in that bracket, how are they going to do that person? Are they going to, as it were, treat it as kid gloves, or they are going to do it decisively? Because if those actors are not properly brought to book, like he said, we are fighting in vain. Now, my second question, I read a story about Chinese involvement in this whole saga. And the Ghana Immigration Service told us that they come to this country for, how do you call it, a 3-month visit, and then they go out. But I know there's a town in the Western region called Chinatown, I've forgotten the town, that they have settled, and they do business and do all kinds of things. So how do the Chinese come in, and not only Chinese, the foreign miners come in, and how do they live, and how are they monitored to make sure that we see their movement here and there? And my third question.
I'm sorry, the second one I'm a bit confused. Specific to this operation, what's the question?
I'm saying that how do these foreign nationals enter? How long are they going to stay? Who monitors them? And who monitors what they are doing or what they're not doing?
Yeah, but I don't think that has to do with this specific operation. I'll disallow that question. Let's go to the next one.
Okay. My third question is, Honorable Minister, equipment for these operations coming through the borders. How do you check the arrival of this? Because some come in knockdown forms, and then they rearrange, and then some the chamfan and those things. How are we going to check that those things, the importation is blocked so that they cannot come into the country? Thank you.
Okay, so is there any part of this operation that deals with an effort to ensure that machines for this purpose don't come into the Ghanaian jurisdiction? Defense Minister, please. So the number of people arrested, GNA says that they are hearing rumors, and I like the way they put it, that they are hearing rumors that 200 people were arrested. You have mentioned 2. Then there are a number of other machines. So the follow-up question from Mr. Blay is that, is it that some people also abandon their machines, etc.? So if Defense Intelligence could help us clear that up.
Thank you,
Go ahead, sir.
Honorable Minister. The information that has been put out there is misleading. That is not the case. When the operation, before the operation started, there have been consultations and meetings, stakeholder consultations, and they have been warned of this operation being launched on that specific date. So before the operation was launched, a lot of people have advised themselves. And again, the operation was launched on a Wednesday. And for our information, the people who live on the Pra River have a custom that says that Wednesday they don't go to the river. So at the time of the operation, there was no local there. There were no indigenous. There were only 2 Chinese who were arrested. So that information about arrested 200 Ghanaians is never true. Thank you very much.
This is Brigadier General A.Y. Nsia.
Yes, yes.
Acting Chief of Defense Intelligence. So for those of you who are asking who he is.
So we wanted you to hear from the operators themselves. Only 2 Chinese were arrested. No local, so it's not a true story. Ignore it. The issue of why destroy equipment, there are just 2 questions that will answer. The rest, my brother, they are largely the questions directed to the Minister for Lands. The law already outlaws mining within the river bodies and 100 meters to each of the flanks of the river. If you do any activity there, it's an illegal activity. The president has directed that will clean up the river bodies. And like I said, we are not taking any equipment home. We are not seizing any equipment. No equipment to be returned home. It's not like before where you seize equipment. They would all be destroyed on site. It's as simple as that. So there is nothing like we are taking excavators, we are taking battery, we are taking, nothing will come home. Everything will be destroyed at site. Take your equipment and don't go back again. It's as simple as that. And 2, I did not say that Galamsey areas, we are going to go around destroying and beating up people as, like he said. No, that's not what I said. I said that when the military sweep past a place, for example, as they are currently sweeping past River Pra and do the operations and cleanup on the river bodies and the forest reserves, there will be constant monitoring of what they have done by the Ghana Air Force with assault people on board. And so don't think that you will go back after all. This is a 3 days wonder or 9-day wonder. No, don't go back. That's all that I said. And that they have been given instructions to take action on anybody who goes back. That's all that it has to do. So there's nothing that, oh, because somebody is mining by the roadside doing this, that's not the instruction that we have. Once they sweep a place and they are going to sweep all the major river bodies, they are going to sweep the forest reserves. When they sweep a place and you think you will go back, you are just endangering your own well-being in this our little country called Ghana. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. What sort of support are we giving to the RECSEX and DISEX so that they can keep the sanity that is being brought to prevail in these places? I think that's one of the substantive questions. Then there's a question about, is there any difference between this operation and some of the previous attempts? Minister.
Yes, sir. RECSEX and DISEX. The president is in charge of so many of these things, and he's very mindful that they will need resources to be able to function effectively, and that obviously will come up in our planning. So I think that's exactly what I would say about it. I mean, there's a standing committee made up of the Defense, the Interior, Information, myself, and chaired by the National Security Minister to see to it that the various regional security councils are up to the task. So that will happen. The inheritance of excavators, as in my handing over matters relating to excavators, at the most appropriate time, we will most definitely find an occasion like this and we'll update the country accordingly. The very important question from GH1, which is a big major issue about alternative livelihoods. And that's a very important component of the whole equation. If you don't pay attention to that, you run into a lot of difficulties. Because part of the problem also is not, I'm not condoning illegal mining, but part of it also is issues of survival, actually. And therefore, whilst we are sanitizing the industry, we certainly must be paying attention to alternative livelihoods. The young men should not mine in Abomosu or whatever. What should they do? So we need to think through that. We've been thinking through that. Community mining is very important to us. I didn't say this, but let me say it. The president and his government are not against mining in Ghana. We are not. On the contrary, we want to promote a viable, sustainable, small-scale mining which contributes to the economy. Ghana is the leading producer of gold today, overtaking South Africa. The contribution of small-scale mining to the gold output in our country is almost 40%. So they contribute a lot to the economy of our country. So we are not against small-scale. What we are against is the illegal mining. So community mining is important. The Minerals Commission is working out an elaborate program which will result in ramping up community mining and which will have a lot more people have the opportunity to participate in legitimate, lawful, sustainable mining, which has regard for the preservation of the environment. The licensing regime, and I'll end there because the gamut of interventions and measures that we seek to unleash to be able to create alternative livelihoods. The licensing regime is a big problem. And I always give the example which says the regime we have today, the law and the policy in place for small-scale mining today means that if my constituent from Achibonyo wants to engage in small-scale mining, he has to find his way to Tamale, put in an application, find his way to Accra to the Minerals Commission offices, find his application on my desk as Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, and have it approved before he can be said to be involved in lawful small-scale mining. So even the whole licensing regime, reviewing it, reforming it, decentralizing it, is a major part of the whole equation so that people can be involved a lot more in legitimate small-scale mining. The final question, I believe, the monitoring and evaluation desk at the ministry. Whatever we put in place in respect of mining in Ghana, the minister still has oversight. And therefore, in the best of worlds, I should even have a screen where on a touch I can tell what is happening in Apamprampa or what's happening in Abomasu or everywhere in the country. But this is not the case. So the monitoring team is essentially mandated to try and get us to be on top of the situation and be properly have a proper grip of what is happening across the country. Political actors, the resolve is absolute, very absolute. And this is not mere talk, please. In all modesty, the resolve is absolute. The president is absolutely resolved in this matter. My senior colleagues are here. They will bear me out. He said it countless times. This has no regard for political coloration. It doesn't matter your position in any political party. And by that, I mean any political party. The security agencies have gotten their instructions very clear. Even this morning, I had meetings with Forestry Commission and Minerals Commission, and I repeated it. If you go into a forest reserve and it's anybody who has an operation there, it doesn't matter his status in society or his political coloration, flush the person out. So you can be rest assured on that one. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll take second and final batch of questions, but I want to respond specifically to the question of judgment debt. We are convinced that no court will give judgment debts to an illegal miner on a water body. An illegal miner on a water body whose machines have been destroyed. We are fortified in our view that no court will grant such person a judgment debt. We'll take a final batch of questions. If there are no new persons, then I'll go to some of the persons who raised questions earlier, because they have outstanding questions. Abednego, if you have a question, the time is now. He's one of our very profound last-minute questioners. Abednego, then I saw a gentleman in brown. Yes, Abednego from Adom FM, correct?
Yeah.
So I'll take the gentleman in brown, and then I'll go back to Kojajiman and then to GNA to do their follow-ups, and then we'll wrap up. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Honorable. Your friend Abednego Asante, we had more Adom FM. Honorable, previous operations, in your report, we say some of the officials are government deploy on site, it could agree with these illegal miners. So operation, Minister Betima assure say, "Omubeye man pepe set tax na dem omuko could agree with yes, minus. After so now, if a foreign national sell mobile, Maba Vesegana, no moko. Uko mukro kudi bonia, Emranu deep pepe, into more yachu me and as operation way. Uba sure so be yabecheno. Emrani be deep pepe, yen man inquire over funny hodi. Thank you.
Thank you. Gentleman in brown, please identify yourself, sir.
I'm Samuel Pia, Ghana Peace Journal. The Honorable Minister for Lands and Natural Resources said, like some lands has been given to some large and small-scale miners in our
crude
forests.
rights.
Yes.
Yes.
And he said in future, these lands will not be given to them. But I want to know when is that future coming, because still they are still mining, and if they don't take care, our forestation will turn to deforestation. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. So I think you need to clarify the concept of accrued rights from those who are seeking to get new permits. So, Kojo, I'll let you wrap up, and then I'll come to JoyNews to wrap up. Yeah.
So my name is Kujajman, City TV. When we were in Takwa, the University of Mines and Technology said they've come up with a water clearing technology that will work, or that will clear the Pra and the Ankobra and the other polluted water. What is the ministry doing about this good news that we are hearing from the UMAT? Thank you.
UMAT says they have some technology that can clean the water bodies. Will you be willing to consider it? GNA, final word.
My question on the excavators being destroyed, I wanted to find out whether, wouldn't it be useful for them to use it for reclamation of the lands rather than destroying? I want the minister to
clarify. I think it's been very clear. The policy decision is no. If your machine is found there, it will be destroyed.
Okay.
That's a policy decision.
Substantive question. Yes. On Minister of Lands on April 22 issued a statement that those who are holding recognizance and prospecting license, with or without legal authorization, should stop the prospecting on forest reserves. Now, he said on May 7th, they are going to publish the names of companies that are holding such license. I want clarification whether after publication, these companies will be allowed to go and continue their work. Okay.
So to reconcile those positions, I'll give you a very, very final word.
It's actually supposed to be a follow-up.
To
initial question, no, actually a question that I asked on the approach and as to why it appeared the first attempt to clamp down on the illegal mining, government failed. So what's the new approach? I didn't get that response.
Well, I think if you look at I don't seek to answer for them, but if you look at the two approaches, they are very different. The first approach, you had soldiers and security persons embedded in the forest reserves and in these communities. And you yourselves are reporting that there were reports of some of them, getting in conniving activities and getting corrupted. You have heard a new approach that clearly says that there's a 3-day operation to clean it. Nobody's going to stay there. Everybody's withdrawing after these 3 days. There are going to be regular patrols of armed soldiers. And if you or your equipment are found there, you would have yourself to blame. I think the two approaches are very different. And in between the two, you find the lessons that have been learnt. And the new approach is hoped or expected to deliver results. And also, I think as has been mentioned, the regional security councils and the district security councils have now been put in charge of ensuring that those who have been cleared don't return. And if they require any logistical support, they can always escalate to get some logistical support so to do. So this is a very different approach from the first one. I think the lessons are clear. Yes, Minister, so I'll let you come up.
I think that we should applaud the president for the courage to continue this fight, especially with what happened during the elections. You should applaud him to still have the nerve and the courage to say, no, I'm resolved that I must leave a very good environment for my people. I want to leave clean water bodies for my people. I want to allow aquatic life to return, and I want to allow lands that are good enough to take our cocoa and take our crops. You don't want your lands to be destroyed by mercury. You don't want your lands, your fertilizer, your tomatoes. You don't want your cocoa. You don't want to be banned by outsiders. So we should applaud the president. And if the president had not taken the decision in 2017 to do what he did, I don't think we have been having the Ghana we have today. So lessons have been learned, and that is why this new approach is being taken. It's a 3-day surgical operation. The military says we'll do surgical operations, and after that we'll do follow-ups. So there are 2 different approaches. It's a surgical operation, and after that they will do follow-ups. And the follow-ups are not static teams that will be staying with anybody for you to even to have access to them. You cannot have access to them now. Nobody, no Ghanaian, no foreigner can have access to talk to anybody. They are operating and they are moving in groups, and they are moving. And those who are going to do the follow-ups, you will not even have access to talk to them to be able to influence anybody. So that's all I want to tell you. But for the officials, I mean, the issue of officials concerned with illegality, like I've said, that is exactly the point. I can assure you that those allegations, which we always said that for us, if we get any security agency, if we get, if we get any security personnel, or even a minister, or anybody that we know and have evidence, the president will prosecute that person. I'm very clear in my mind about that one. Even me as defense minister, if the president has evidence that I am engaged in illegal mining, I'm colluding with illegal miners, or I am encouraging them, even by what I do, the president will not hesitate to remove me and prosecute me. Because our own lives, our entire life as a nation depends on what we are doing now. If you see River Pra, if anybody were to see River Pra today, you will for Ghana. Because a few individuals want to make money. If you see River Pra, where fish cannot more survive, where aquatic life cannot survive in that river, you will for this nation. So I'm clear in my mind that what we are doing, we need the support of everybody. And that's why I think that people who are taking fake videos and trying to incite the public against the soldiers for what they are doing should stop. It doesn't help anybody. There was a consultative meeting. We all came to an agreement that, look, as Ghanaians, we should fight this fight together. We don't want one political party to stand here and say we are against, we are for. We don't want that any longer. Let us all move as a nation and get to where we are getting. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable Minister for Lands, if you can wrap up on the question of accrued rights, would you be willing to consider the proposed solution that UMAT has? And then can we reconcile the April 22nd and May 7th comments?
Reconcile what?
Reconcile the comments of April 22nd and May 7th about who can be in the forest and who cannot be.
Okay. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The questions are very useful. I'm very grateful for them because clarity is important. And I'll try to recast the instructions again. The directive to stop or suspend prospecting, recognizance, and or exploration takes effect today. It takes effect today. The directive, I signed it on 21st of April and said 7 days after publication, all companies, individuals, entities should stop. Now, the directives were published on 23rd. So if you do the counting, the directive takes effect today. So in other words, as from today, you cannot prospect in forest reserve, you cannot explore in forest reserve, you cannot engage in recognizance in forest reserve. The additional measure which I just announced here is really in accordance with the dictates of transparency, which is that the Minerals Commission and the Forestry Commission, who are the repository of the records of mineral activities in the forest reserve, are to publish the list of companies who hold prospecting or recognizance licenses and or who have the application pending. So it's just for transparency purposes. It's not as though the instruction will take effect on 7th May. They need some time to piece it together, which is why I gave them up to 7th May. So that on 7th May, they will publish it to the whole country. So a journalist can follow through and say, Mr. Minister, the company A, which has a prospecting, is still prospecting in this forest reserve. so we can enforce the rules properly. But the question about when the directives take effect, they take effect today. Accrued rights. And there too I have to explain. Generally, you don't enact laws, you don't give directives to take retroactive effect. That is quite unconscionable. Secondly, though there are companies who acquired their, the law doesn't debar mining in forest reserves. Let's understand that. Our laws in Ghana permit mining in particular circumstances for mining to take place in forest reserves, which is why you require the forest entry permit. The environmental protocols are more stringent. You post a bond, an environmental bond, and so on and so forth. There are companies who have had mining licenses, forest entry permits to mine in forest reserves as far back as 1930. Ghana Bauxite Company Limited has been mining in forest reserve as far back as 1930. So, I mean, that kind of company, you can't say because you've given an instruction for prospecting to cease, you're going to stop that company. And in any event, the instruction relating to the forest entry permit is prospective. Let me put it that way. It's into the future. So they can't give any more. Those they have given will hold, naturally. Those are accrued rights. They've acquired the rights already. They've gone through the motions. And there are other companies. I don't want to mention the names of those companies. So that is the clarification I want to bring to bear. In all of this also, we recognize that as a mining country with expected investment, genuine investment for prospecting and exploration, so there are those who will genuinely be interested in engaging in prospecting, which will have no adverse impact on the environment. We have given a window that in those exceptional circumstances, the Minister for Lands, in writing, can give them an exemption. But I emphasize the word writing, so that the exercise of my discretion can also be scrutinized. And to say, Minister, the discretion or the exemption you've given is unreasonable, is going to affect the environment, and so on and so forth. The Ghana Integrated Aluminium Development Corporation, which is a major undertaking by the government and people of Ghana, they are engaged in prospecting in the Tiwa Forest and other places, which are not prospecting, which affects the environment. So in a case like that, we'll have to look at it. So these are the issues, and I thought it's important that we clarify them. UMAT. I visited UMAT 2 days ago. I met the Vice Chancellor. He put this matter before me. I'm very interested in it. I've designated one of my deputy ministers to engage them in detail, and let's find out what can be done. I am more interested, first of all, for us to establish the science, because there's been a school of thought which says that even when you clear the miners off the river, it takes you literally a long period of time before the river can correct itself. You know, some people are saying it will take you 10 years before you can find fish in the river bodies and so on and so forth. I'm not a scientist, so I'm yet to be educated on that. Secondly, there is also the school of thought which says you can deploy organic solution, which is that you don't use chemicals, but they have organic solutions which will help the river bodies to correct itself faster. That kind of conversation will have to be had between my ministry, the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources, the Ministry of Environment. But early days yet. The professor is indicated they have a solution. We'll be very happy to evaluate that. But for my purposes, I think we should clear the illegal small-scale miners off our environment first, and then we can begin to think of how to reclaim our water bodies. Minister, is that it?
That is it, sir. Thank you very much. Vice Admiral Seth Amuama, Chief of Defense Staff, Brigadier General A.Y. Nsia, Acting Chief of Defense Intelligence, Brigadier General Abdullahi, Director General Joint Operations, Lieutenant Colonel Nana Dakwa, Deputy Director Army Operations, Wing Commander David Nkansa, Director Air Operations, the Honorable Kofi Amankwa Menu, Deputy Minister Designate for Defense, the Honorable Benito Usubio, Deputy Minister Designate for Lands and Natural Resources, the Honorable Samuel Abu Jinapo, Minister, Lands and Natural Resources, the Honorable Ambrose Derry, Minister for the Interior, the Honorable Dominic Nitiwu, Minister for Defense. Our colleagues from the media, we want to thank you that you've made time this Friday morning. Please help us get the word across to all stakeholders. The President's resolve is clear. His ministers and the security chiefs have acted upon it, and any person who returns to these water bodies will have themselves to blame. Thank you. Wish you all the best.
And that'll be it for the update on military operation against mining in water bodies, dubbed Operation Halt. And primarily we've been hearing from the ministers for defense and lands and natural resources. Quick updates: 2 Chinese nationals have been arrested in that operation that they've embarked on, and over 100 equipment seized. So we'll be giving you more updates on this in subsequent bulletins, and also doing some analysis on it. That'll be all. There's more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. Thank you for staying on News Desk and this update from the Ministry of Information. I'm Bernice Abubedu-Lamsa. Stay with JoyNews. We are home of independent, fearless, and credible journalism.